Welcome to Scoop on this Friday. We are gonna have the foot hit the ball in less than about 18 hours. It's 7:30 right now on Friday, and we are kicking off at 3:30. So it's about to be lit. We have some big time guys, some big time predictions. I can't wait to get to Nevadabuck and see what he wants to say. But there's a lot of guys, a lot of stuff to prove. I think Buckeye Nation is very excited to see what is going to go down today. So we're going to break all that down for you. But first, as always, we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this content. Thank you for clicking like, subscribe, and also our alert bell. Again, as always, we appreciate you guys. It is a Friday night. There's a lot of stuff going on, high school football, date night, whatever. But for those of you that are here with us live, we're going to be taking some questions and seeing what is going down as we get into the Indiana Hoosier game at week one, the first quarter of the season. Nice and easy, and I think this is a good little test for our guys, especially the line of the quarterback. So we're going to see what's going on. But with that being said, I'm going to get right into Nevadabuck, Nevada. What is your prediction for the Indiana-Ohio State game at 3:30 tomorrow in Bloomington? What are you looking to see?
Well, first I'm going to start with my prediction. My game prediction is I've got Ohio State winning 35-0. Nothing sexy about the game. I think it's going to be maybe a little bit closer for a half than people might want, and I think it's going to be kind of a sleepy affair from that standpoint. But I think the information that I have a sneaking suspicion that this is going to come true, is by tomorrow night at this time, Carnell Tate will be a household name for people. And I remember before the Rose Bowl, I predicted Marvin Harrison Jr. to have 3 touchdown passes in the Rose Bowl, and people were like, "Marvin Harrison Jr. 3 touchdown passes?" Like, what kind of prediction is that? I'm just telling you right now, I think Carnell Tate, we all know him, but everybody else is going to know him by tomorrow night at this time. And just remember, that's Nevadabuck. That's what I'm going all in. My final answer on Friday night, based upon information, based upon game plan, based on what I know about what Ohio State wants to do, what they're going to do. I say Carnell Tate, household name when we're talking tomorrow night, and we'll revisit this time. And he may play 2 plays and just be the guy that runs out there like the big fat guy that picks up the tee after the guy kicks it off or something like that, and that might be his only time on the field. Or he could have a big game. So, but we'll see. But I'm willing to go. I'm going all in, pushing all my chips in on Carnell Tate, household name, by tomorrow night for Buckeye Nation and the rest of the world.
So if I say over to 1 touchdown for Carnell, what are you saying? Are you pushing? Are you going over? What kind of deal is this? Again, Jordan Fleming is back. I think Carnell is much more talented than Julian. I think he's played much better in camp. The people I've talked to in camp at the WAC have said Carnell is the next guy. He's the next Jackson Smith and Jigba, the next, futuristic first round, supernova type of guy. Julian is not that. He's not proved that. What is your prediction for a stat line for Carnell Tate?
I'm going to say 2 touchdowns. I got my 2 boys. I got Trey Henderson with 3. I've got Carnell with 2. That's 5 touchdowns. That's my 35 points. It's my final answer. That's what I'm going with. I think they'll have similar stat lines. I think Trey will probably have 3 touchdowns, 150 yards on the ground, and Carnell's going to have 2 touchdowns, 150 yards to the air. So the Carnell Tate and Trey Henderson show to tomorrow in Bloomington.
Yeah, I just think that with Carnell's had a very difficult offseason. Obviously, his mother was murdered, frankly, very as bad as you could imagine. I think that they're going to get him involved early, often keep him engaged. Again, he's a supernova talent. I think he's the 3rd best receiver on the roster right now. I think Ennis is 4th. Carnell got here obviously in January, which is a big difference between him and Brandon. Him and Brandon are best friends, like the type of guys that'll be best mans in each other's weddings. And Carnell's he's slippery. I mean, there's a lot of people that can't check him. He gets open, he catches the ball, and when he gets it, he's explosive off the edge. So he's a 4-4 guy that can run. And again, I think that Julian Fleming, as much as I love him, as much as he's the number 1 receiver in the country 3-4 years ago, like he doesn't have that gear that Carnell has. So I think Carnell If Ryan Day wants to feed him, that's what I got to feed. He's had a rough offseason again. His mother untimely passing in Chicago, and I think Colonel is the guy that's going to do it. You projected a shutout, Nevada. Obviously, I think Jim Knowles did a great job last year defensively. Obviously, we had the two black eyes, the Michigan game, the Georgia game, but against the lower ranking opponents, the teams like Indiana, I mean, they did yeoman's work. I mean, they shut teams out, they beat them up. It was it was tough sledding. Why do you project Jim Knowles' defense, led by Jack Sawyer, JT Tuimoloau, Tommy Eichenberg, Steel Chambers, will attain a shutout tomorrow?
Well, I think one, because Ohio State's going to do a better job of running the ball, and I think when you run the ball, you run the clock, and with this new clock rule where you're shaving a little bit of time where they're not stopping the clock for first downs, you're keeping the ball on the ground. I think the pass plays are going to generally be of the safer variety, and I think both the quarterbacks are going to be a little bit more careful with the ball, and I think as a result, the game's going to be shorter. It's going to be a shorter game. It's going to be a little bit more controlled game. And when you do that, and you're not, running it up and down, even though I think Ohio State will will use tempo to a degree, but it's not going to be a fast-paced game. I think Ohio State's going to be able to control the action on both sides of the ball. Indiana's got a first-time quarterback they're rolling out there, and a first-time quarterback rolling out there against these guys is going to be tough business, and that's why I'm predicting a shutout for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, and their left tackle, Carter Smith, is a kid from Olentangy Liberty, a kid that we looked at heavily. He did the whole photo shoot, the whole workout with Justin Fry. Justin passed on him, so it's gonna be real interesting to see what we can do versus him. I mean, Jack Sawyer generally has lined up versus left tackle. JT is generally lined up versus the right tackle. So this is there's some prime opposition there. As much as people sweat the offensive line for Ohio State, most teams, in general, are rebuilding their O lines. There's some guys that have some returning starters, 3 or 4, but most teams are rebuilding what they had. So Carter Smith has a tall task. I think Jack Sawyer is out for blood. I think Jack is, and a lot of these guys are very prideful. A lot of them are out for, kind of getting that penance out of the way that they had to pay versus Michigan, Georgia. I think Jack, JT. I personally think Jack will have severely more production than JT. Now that he's got his hand on the ground, he's playing defensive, he's not playing Jack. He outproduced JT from a sack perspective last year, and JT played demonstrably more snaps than Jack did. But I think it's going to be very interesting to see how much work he gets in. Mike Hall, healthy. He's not behind Tehran. He's not behind Jerron Cage, guys that weren't NFL guys that both got cut this past weekend. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Mike Hall can get done. I think Tyleik Williams is getting healthy. Tywone Malone. We've got a lot of guys that are ready to roll. In that front end of the defense, Nevada defensively, what is our ceiling? Again, the problem, and you know this better than anybody, is that if we have a dominant performance versus Indiana, people are going to say, "Oh, it's just Indiana. Oh, it's just Youngstown. Oh, it's just Western Kentucky." Excuse me. What is your antidote for Jim Knowles and what he's trying to do, trying to fix, trying to get better at as we go through the season in 2023?
Well, I just think it's going to be about really developing the depth and kind of bringing along some of the young guys, and that's why tomorrow. Yeah, we talked. Going back to the whole thing about predicting the shutout. I think it's because when you bring in guys like Malik Hartford and C.J. Hicks and Sonny Styles and rolling all those defensive backs and rolling those interior linemen and bringing Caden Curry and Kenny out of Jackson as part of your rotation on the defensive line. I just think those guys they're going to be playing and they're going to be playing hard. And I think for Knowles, these games are not just about the stats, and you want to do a good job of controlling the tempo and controlling the number of points given up. But I think you want to start developing the young guys so that you've got that depth, so you've got that you can come in waves that teams as the season goes along, as inevitably guys are nicked up or there's injuries or whatever there might be happening. So I think for Knowles, it's going to be not just about how the first team does, but how the second team and the third team do. And I think that's something that we're all going to be looking at as a measuring stick for how good of a performance it is tomorrow.
Yeah, I agree. Because if your Jim Dolan's going to be here past this year, it's like you've got to get Kenyatta and Kane ready to go. Because there's about 100% chance that JT's going to jump to the league. About an 85% chance that Jack Sawyer's going to jump to the league. I mean, the mock drafts have these guys in the top 32. So, you better start getting Kane, Curry, and Kenyatta Jackson ready to go and start next year. So you got to rotate these guys in, especially early in the season when guys are getting gas, when it's you're not quite in football shape. As great as our conditioning program is under Mickey Marotti, and you practice hard, there's nothing like getting into like game shape by playing in games where you're playing, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 plays, and it changes everything. So I think that my biggest fascination going into the season will be what does the pass rush look like when we have Jack Sawyer back healthy, playing defensive end. You have Mike Hall back healthy, getting his full cadre of snaps. You have Ty Hamilton. You have, Tyleik Williams. What do those guys look like? They don't have Jerron Cage. They don't have Teron Vincent and some of these guys blocking them. So it'll be very interesting to see how much production we get out of the front four. Again, I think that the front four kind of patrols and controls the entire defense when in terms of what they can do. If they can get pressure with four, it enhances the ability for the back seven to get picks. Nevada, again, one of the big deals with last year is that none of our corners, all of them, had a pick last year. 0 picks out of all our cornerbacks last year. How big of a delta is that shift when you have Dave Sampagnosin out of the group, you have Jordan Hancock, you have Denzel Burke healthy? What do you project for our defensive backs and our, especially specifically our corners going forward?
Well, I'm looking for. I mean, we should get a pick a game. I'm looking for one pick a game and out of that position. And I think this is a group that can do it. But back to your earlier point about the pass rush and bringing it with four. It's it's the pass rush that they need to bring, but they also need to bring it with discipline. And one of the ways that teams have played against Ohio State in the past has been, let's get Ohio State going, and those guys are all fired up, and then they run themselves out of position. And so with Ohio State, what I'm looking for tomorrow is you're looking for that controlled aggression on the defensive line. So you're controlling, just win your battle up front, beat your guy up front, and whether that means disrupting a running play or getting to the backfield and containing the quarterback on a contain rush or beating him on a speed rush, whatever it might be, but play with some discipline as well because it's really good that we can get out there and make these spectacular plays and try to run, but don't run yourself out of position. Don't have so much excitement and pent up energy built up into you that you put yourself in a bad spot and put the defense in a bad spot because that's been the trouble with Ohio State in the past, and hopefully that's something that I know they've preached at all fall camp about responsibility. We want to see a more responsible defense out there, a more gap sound defense on Saturday, and I think we will.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how much zone coverage Jim Knowles plays. He's a big man proponent. Last year was a huge man proponent, but again, sometimes when you're up by a lot and you're often scoring a lot of points, you have to keep guys in front of you. It's tough sometimes because again, when you have just better players. I mean, we played Michigan, we had better players than them, but schematically, Jim, who I think is a fantastic coach, he's the guy that coaches effort. He's a tough guy. He coaches a little bit too much to go for broke. Go man, bring some of these pressures, some of these defenses where it's like, it's exceptionally high risk, high reward football, which, when your offense is scoring 40-ish plus points a game, if you can just keep them into the low 30s, you're going to win every game. So it'll be interesting to see how much he's developed in terms of his coverage, his calls, because I think that's one of the fascinating things for tomorrow is like, is he a big man cover guy again, or is he getting a little bit more into cover three? Sonny Styles down in the box playing Sam linebacker. Does that work for him? So that'll be something that I'll be watching. Offensively, most people, I'd say 98% of people are concerned about the O-line, the quarterback. Nevada, where are you at with that after camp? With the O-line, with the quarterback situation. Are you comfortable? Are you relaxed? Do you have anxiety? What is your feeling on the quarterback situation as of today, a day before the first Big Ten game?
No, with the quarterback no line, I'm really excited. I'm just excited to see them both play, and on the O line, I'm excited to see Jimmy Simmons out there at left tackle, see what those guys can do. But no, not anxiety. They've both been good enough through fall camp that we're past the anxiety stage of can they play. It's just the question of it's just a matter of how good can they play, and I think that's an exciting place to be. It's the same thing on the offensive line. We've just got a lot of dudes to the offensive line. Like if Jimmy Simmons falters, I want to see what George can do. I want to see what Zen can do. We don't talk about Enoch at all,
At
which is
all.
really weird for a guy that's been around for that long and has started games for us. I want
Yeah.
to see what he can do to get in there. I want to see what the 5 running backs can do. So now I'm just excited to see how they deploy all these weapons and to have a legitimate quarterback controversy where you've got 2 guys that are going out there knowing that the objective of the game is to perform well enough to outperform the other guy and earn that spot. That's just fun. I mean, so many times we talk about complacency where guys know that they have their spot. There's not a 2 really pushing them, and so they just kind of go out there and do their thing. And I think in that situation, you're always getting 80 or 90% capacity out of a person. When guys are playing for their life, for their job, for their future, for future NFL riches, I mean, yeah, they're going to be pressing. Yeah, there's always that dynamic of trying a little bit too hard, trying to do a little bit too much. But boy, it's going to be fun to watch. It's like a human drama being played out right in front of us, and we all get to see it.
Man, I'm telling you, like, it's time to go on a spot. There's no excuses. Practice algorithms and practice grades, they're great. But now these guys get if you're Devin Brown, Kyle McCord, you get 3 games to prove yourself. And so at the end of 3 games, you get the honor of starting against Notre Dame. So I think it's gonna be fantastic. Again, I think the best players come from the Crucible, the guys that come through and they're not projected to do anything. They're projected to be whatever, and then all of a sudden they ball out and they're really good. Like Pat Elflein is the same way. Like Pat Elflein was a guy that most of the new coaches in 2012 when Urban came in didn't think much of Pat. I thought Pat was fantastic, and he's like on year 10 in the league right now with the Arizona Cardinals. So again, you just have to keep cranking, working. And again, camp is kind of a mind F. I'm not using the real F word, but it's like a mind F where it's like, you're in, you're good, and then the next day everything changes. You're not in, you're not good. So I think it'll be fascinating to see who comes out of camp with that right mentality to go contribute and be a great part of this program. One of that, we're going to wrap this thing. Any final thoughts? We are going to be on Buckeye Scoop all day tomorrow with the game threads. Obviously, we have a noon game thread. We have 3:30 game thread. We have the night game thread. Any final thoughts, Nevada?
Carnell Tate. I'm telling you, Carnell Tate. Big game tomorrow. Big part of the game plan. Ohio State really wants to feature this guy, and I think he's going to get featured early and often. So we'll see if I'm right.
I think you're going to be right because after all that kids go through, the least you can do is throw them a touchdown. So with that being said, again, we appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much, Buckeye Scoop family and Buckeye Nation. We are on here grinding, getting you the content that you guys deserve and you guys want. If you guys enjoyed this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and also click that little dinner bell. If that dinner bell goes off, you guys will know when we're going live. We appreciate all of our regulars tuning in. As always, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. It's game day tomorrow, baby. It's Christmas Day. It's like Christmas Eve. Let's go. Go Bucks.